a baseball man, and and he was an outfielder of all round, and he had a successful career for 22 years and in the major league, and he passed away in 2019 in the age of 69. And the Bill, he led the league in a double twice and finished in the top 10 in the stolen bases twice as well. And he was a battling champion in 1980, an all-star in 1981, and however, there was a no player in a major league baseball history whose career has been more defined by a mistake despite its merits. And then Bill, he was a fall in 1986. The Red Sox had a 3-2 lead in the series, where leading he took over to 5-2. And in New York meets in the 10th inning, there we only the three strikes away from the winning the Fall Classic. But in the top half of the ninth inning of the game, six, the William of the Myths, he hit a roll out book to the Bill at the first base, which slipped between his legs and reached the outfield. So he couldn't make a successful match on that day because his opponent was a good player, and even the Bill was a good player, but he couldn't make it on the day because maybe he might had a stressful day, or maybe he wasn't able to concentrate in the match on that time. So his opponent person who played the game, he won over the six, and the over the game to win the World Series. And the Bill mistake at the decisive moment, he was a very heartbroken. He made a mistake in the match, but too, he was how to say he was mistaken on the part, and he was like, oh, I made a mistake in the match, and he recalled the mistakes whatever he have done in the match. After his playing days, he even had to move from the place due to the exclusive anger of those around him. So he moved to the other place, and the place where he was before, he had a huge fan base. The fan lasted for the decades, even though he had the mistake, because he had a successful career and he played a lot of league match. He had a strong of the fan base, and even after moving, the fans even cheered him up, and the things began to change when the Red Sox finally won the World Series in 2004 and 2007. The power of forgiveness was on the display in 2008 when Bill returned to the Fenway Park to throw the first ball on the opening game. There he received a standing ovation that lasted almost 2 minutes, and that made him emotional. Like, even when he made a mistake all around in his match, but to his fans cheered him up and forgive his mistakes for what he has done in the match. And likewise, when we come to the Bible, like Bill, the apostle Peter made a mistake that can be placed on the list of the worst history. For 3.5 years, Peter was following Jesus very closely, and he witnessed many miracles that Jesus had performed in his own eyes, because he was with God, and he traveled along with God. And Peter followed Jesus everywhere, wherever God goes, and even he was a subject of some of those miracles. It is said that in one occasion, after he spent the night trying to fish without any fishes, any result, the Lord approached him and said, row the boat out of the deep water and let your nets down to catch some fish. And the story goes that they didn't catch any fish. The all night when Peter was like going to fish, he didn't find even any single fish that he would catch. But God went there and he told, seeing this miracle, God told him that God told him to place the net in the place where he told, and they got a plenty of fishes where the net reaped and just stayed apart. Because then seeing this marvelous miracle in the Bible says, the Peter kneeled down in front of Jesus and said, Lord, didn't come near me. I am a sinner. Please don't come near me. I am a sinner. You are a father. You are the great father, and you are the person who created the universe. And I am a sinner who even can't even come into your glorious presence, Lord. I'm such a sinner. On the other occasion, Peter was on the same lake of Galilee along with the other disciples when the great storm came against them with such a force that it threatened to destroy the boat. But in the midst of the storm, Jesus approached on the troubled water by were terrified and thought it was a ghost. They all thought at the night it's a ghost, and they were like scared, and they were like, some shadow like thing is coming towards us. I think it's a ghost. And they were frightened and they cried out in the fear, but Jesus encouraged them with the words saying, Don't worry, I am the Jesus. Don't be afraid. This is the moment when Peter said, Lord, if it is really you, tell me to come to you on the waters. Jesus told him, Come, and miraculously Peter walked on the storm waters of the Lake of Galilee. And uh, and Matthew records another epic story with Peter and Jesus. Then Jesus asked, But why do you say I am? And Simon Peter spoke up, You are the Messiah, the Son of a living God. And Jesus told him, Simon, son of Jonah, you are blessed. You didn't discover this on your own. It was shown to you by my Father in heaven. So I will call you Peter, which means a rock. On this rock I will build my church, and death itself will not have a power over it. It says it is given, the illustration is being given in the Matthew chapter 16, verse 15 to 8, that God speaks to Simon, saying him that Peter means a rock, and on this rock I will build my church, and death itself will not have a power over it. And we can also agree that Peter was on Jesus' team. Yet he made a serious mistake that just before the Lord's crucifixion time, he betrayed like God, like almost like 3 times. Jesus addressed his disciples saying, During this very night, all of you will reject me. Or at this statement, everybody looked at each other facing, oh, who's going to be that person who's going to betray God? And at this statement, everybody looked at each other. Then Peter said, If all other rejects you, I will never reject you. He said this word, and it has been recorded in Matthew 26 chapter, verse 31 to 33. But Peter instead again and again saying that he would never deny his master or betrayed him. And whosoever and hours later, he had only denied him. He almost said like 3 times, I don't know who this person is. He told me before the crucifixion, when people addressed him, he was like, I don't know who the person is. He was like, he pretended like as if he doesn't know Lord, and he just ran away from the place. But he cursed and he prayed. He did not know Jesus. And yes, Peter denied his teacher, the master. He denied him when he should have defended him. He denied everyone whoever approached him and called him and asked. And he himself saw the miracles done in front of his eyes when God has performed many miracles, and he himself witnessed. But too, he was very afraid that like I might lose my life if I tell the truth to the people, so he ran away. In that face of such an action, Peter was destroyed and ashamed. And what do you think what happened next? As this is known, a God our Lord was crucified. His body was placed in the tomb, but on the third day of his death, he was resurrected. After his resurrection, he meets Peter again in the same place where years ago. And Peter had witnessed a miraculous catch. Let us know about the conversation the Lord had with Peter. And we can read John chapter 21 as we read when Jesus and his disciples had finishing eating, he said, Simon, son of John, do you love me more than others do? And Simon, of course, he replied, Yes, Lord, you know I do. I love you. And then fed my lambs, Jesus said. And Jesus asked a second time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? Simon Peter answered again, Yes, Lord, you know I love you. And then again God said, Then take care of my sheep, Jesus told him. And Jesus asked him on the third time, Simon, son of John, do you love me? And Peter was hurt because Jesus was questioning him again and again. Even in some circumstances, when we are being with our friends, when our friends ask the same question, we be like annoyed. Can you stop asking me the same question? The humans attitude is the same thing has been shown by Peter too. He was hurted, and he was like, God, why are you asking me so many times? Don't you trust me? I'm telling the truth that I love you. And a Lord knew everything, but he kept on asking him. And he said, Lord, really I love you. And Jesus replied, then feed my sheep. It's given in John 21 chapter, verse 15 to 17. So likewise, there are a reflection question we have to know in this the devotion what we learn. Like, how is a Bill's story similar to Peter's? Like when we know about the Peter's life, he pretended like he doesn't know God three times, and he came to know his mistakes back, and he cried and asked forgiveness to God, and he carried on the mission to spread the gospel of God with love. And same thing, even in the Bill story, he had grave a mistake in the recorded. What the mistake he has done is recorded in the history, but he also received a grace full of forgiveness by his fans. And and the Peter story also teaches love is to forgive. And likewise, Jesus forgave Peter despite his mistakes and failures, even though he just told that I don't know God, who is God, and he ran away for the life during before God was crucified on the Calvary of the cross. But though God still had gave a chance to Peter and forgave him, and like we learn from the both the stories is that God is a merciful God. And even though we are in a certain time thinking that, oh, we have done a great mistake and we cannot go back to them and ask forgiveness, but though even if you talk to God or to the person whom you have made them feel guilty, like by your words or something, if you go talk to them and make yourself like telling them, I did the wrong thing. I know I shouldn't have hurted you. Please forgive me. It makes you get a patch with them and continue the relationship with them with the friendly part when you think is like forgiving a person is replicating or the help in removing the blockages in our life with love. Like same thing in the story we learn that you may have made a serious mistakes too, but the same Jesus who forgave Peter also extends his forgiveness to you. Ask God and repent on the time so that God is a gracious person and a person who loves us unconditionally, like not like other person in the world. Like God is a generous person. He is, even if your father or the mother forsakes you, he would never forsake you in any time of situation. God, call to God anytime, He will respond to you with His verses or His voice or by the songs. And ask His forgiveness immediately is a good to to recollect all the memories back, and is a solution to all the problem is asking forgiveness. And explain in your own words why to love is to forgive. Just as God forgives us for whatever we have done, in which we are wrong in others, and God commands us to love one another. God did not only die for our sins, but also for the sins those who have wronged us too. God is a lovely person. Like He died for our sins. Like we have to be uh, in a great heart to like not judge a person by their looks or by the behaviors. Like even if you don't know them, you have to like you shouldn't like talk about bad about them. And then when you know about them and when you tell them, you feel the guilt. Oh my God, I've joined with a good person and I'm talking all about them is very wrong. So you ask forgiveness, and that becomes a good solution. The Lord our God is a merciful and the forgiveness. Even though we have like rebelled against Him and doing a lot of sins, though He gives us a chance so that we can come back to Him and be a good children of God and spread the love. And love is a forgiveness, and forgiveness without love is a hard thing. So I would request you all to love and forgive the person with wholeheartedly and love them again and show them the true love of forgiveness, how it feels. Even God is a merciful Father who forgives us each and every time when we come back to Him and say and cry unto Him, Lord, I've done a great mistake in my life. Lord, I want you to forgive me. But God, He forgives us immediately. We have to show the Christ character in ourselves. The even in the fruits of the Spirit, it says love. Love is a great thing. So cherish love with forgiveness and be happy. And thank you.